Everybody, welcome to this week's Commanders Countdown. Got a little bit of some big news, potentially positive or negative, depending on who you are and how you look at things, but the Commanders may finally be making an exit from FedEx Field. The team has acquired an option to purchase 200 acres of land in Prince William County, Virginia, which would serve as the site for a new stadium and more. The option to purchase the land would cost the franchise $100 million, according to the Washington Post. The land is located in Woodbridge, Virginia, about 23 miles southwest of Washington, D.C., so still not too far away.
Yeah.
The Commanders could purchase another 65 to 70 acres in neighboring Dumfries, Virginia, which is farther south down I-95, according to ESPN. Early reports are that this land in particular was preferred by the franchise because of the potential of what it could build in addition to a new stadium, such as retail shops, restaurants, and even apartment homes.
Oh shit! Yeah, could you imagine that?
I mean,
can you imagine just like living on some I mean, it would probably be really fucking loud during the games, but I mean, imagine as like a fan that's just like commuting, just like, oh shit, I just have to walk across the parking lot and then I'm at the game.
Yeah, I assume they'd have the stadium, then they'd have like, some shops, and they'd have, like maybe some places to live, which, I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, I went to FedEx Field, and I'll be honest, it's pretty underwhelming. It's by itself in the middle of Landover, Maryland. It's really not that great. I wish I could say otherwise, but it's not.
Yeah, the way that the Cardinals shit is, it's kind of like that. I mean, sorry, what were you saying?
No, that's it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's kind of the same way because, like, you get out of, like, their, State Farm Stadium or, like, their big-ass, like, fucking dome that they have. And then there's, like, all kinds of, like, shops and stuff that they've built around there and hotels and stuff. So, I mean, you could see from a financial standpoint, obviously, them trying to want to drive this revenue and make sense. But didn't you say there was, like, some issue or like some drawback?
Yes, so there's issues with, at least this is one article that I did find from a particular Virginia state senator. His name's Chap Peterson. And he's saying that he does not support the plan for Washington to try and build their new stadium in Virginia. And based on reading this article and what his opinion is, he basically thinks that there's not much of a brand anymore with the Commanders because, the Redskins name changing and all of that.
Yeah.
And this guy is a longtime Redskins fan, so I feel like it might have a bit of a personal issue to it as well.
I gotcha.
He thinks that there's an issue of continuity and all of that and how things are going to play out in the future. I mean, he even makes a comment at one point in this article that, like, even maybe an expansion team would be a little more, like, ideal than trying to do it with this franchise. And I mean, I don't agree with what he's saying. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that it is still the same team. I think this is just one person's opinion, but I did think it was an interesting take. And if it does have any truth to it, and that is how people are feeling, they think the franchise doesn't have enough revenue, fan support in the area, then they're not going to build a stadium within that area if they don't see, like one point in the article was like, well, if I saw people walking around wearing Commanders gear all the time, then maybe that would
first
be enough.
Of all,
like,
the Commander's gear's been out for what, 3 months?
Well,
so
I think maybe he
time.
means even just Washington gear in general. I don't think he necessarily. I mean, the franchise has had issues for the last 20 years, so it's not like this is necessarily new. So, but you are right. The Commander's gear is new. You're not going to see a lot of that. But even in terms of just Washington gear in general, I think it's more of a, if I see these things, then I could at least say, despite the negative things that have happened with the franchise and all of that, it's like, oh, well, at least I do see there is, some fandom out there and people support it. And what this guy is saying is that he's not seeing that. And he is a senator of Virginia, so it's not like it's just some random person. But, I would like to hope that that's what he's saying isn't the case. But if that kind of sentiment goes around between Virginia and Maryland and D.C., then it's going to be awfully hard for them to get a new stadium built.
What are your thoughts on that? And like, do you want to see them take the team to out of Landover and into Virginia?
I mean, to me, honestly, I don't really care anywhere in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, that whole area. It's not the same state, but like it kind of feels like it. It's the same general area. So like,
but that kind of shit, it's not unheard of. I mean, everybody knows, it's common knowledge.
Like it's already the Washington, Commanders, which the DC team, but they're in Landover, dude. They're not even in DC. They're already in Maryland, and Maryland has a team. So it's not like this is if they went to Virginia, it's not like this would be a new thing. There'd literally be no difference other than, okay, it's now 15, 20 miles down I-95 a little more.
Yeah.
But
Just a little bit of a further commute, but yeah.
but it's still in the DMV. It's still the same. In Baltimore also, especially from where the new stadium, the area would be. Baltimore is even farther from that, so it would be more of like a team for Virginia, parts of Maryland,
Okay.
DC, and that side of things. Up towards Baltimore and higher Maryland area and Pennsylvania. Then that would be more for them. But I think them going down a ways from DC, like at least where this proposed site would actually make sense because Baltimore is up the other way. So you would rather probably be a little more away from Baltimore if you have to pick something in that area than right next to Baltimore.
All right.
But I mean, I frankly don't care where a new stadium is. If it's in Virginia, Maryland, DC, I don't care. Like as long as it's in a decent area and they can actually make it a good stadium, and like they're talking about building these retail shops and restaurants and all that, that'd be awesome. Make it a nice, really cool experience to go to. Like there's all these new stadiums.
We'll go ahead and
teams
put what
have
the
that.
stadium's projected to look like.
Oh
because,
yeah,
I mean,
the
looks
concept
insane.
picture, because it looks great. Like SoFi Stadium. Like I think that stadium's badass, and that the image that they have kind of reminds me of that in a way. Like it just looks cool. Like
I don't know if you went into, but this is according to a source. But the plans that they have for that concept stadium is 60,000. I know you mentioned that it was a domed stadium, so 60,000 seat domed stadium that they can use throughout the year, as well as for the team's practice facility, an amphitheater that seats between 15 and 20,000. A small indoor music arena, high-end retail shops, bars, restaurants, residential living. Roof would be translucent, and the stadium's facade change colors. It would be white during the day, and for example, burgundy at night. So that would be badass.
Yeah, all of that sounds amazing. Like these ideas, they sound great, and I hope that they can come to fruition. But when I start reading, like the article, like I was mentioning before, and that kind of sentiment, it makes you nervous. Like I'm one that I just want to say, they're the Commanders now, but they're the Redskins in history. Like they have a past, they have history. Just because they're the Commanders now doesn't mean that that's gone. But I do know there's a lot of people out there, and this senator who is a Redskins fan apparently feels the same way. It's like, oh well, the history is gone. It's like, well, because people don't want to say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gone either. Oh, because the Redskins name has that taboo-ness to it now or whatever. But it's like, I wouldn't say the history is gone, dude. It's just
teams change. Like if you go back through the team's history, like every team in the NFL has changed its name pretty much at some point.
Yeah.
So
I think this is more of a pessimistic outlook on things. It's like, well, the history is gone. It's like, well, you know what? That's your opinion, man. You don't have to necessarily forget about, Darryl Green's still my favorite Washington player of all time, and he's going to remain. So, I mean, at least,
that's for sure.
For the time being, unless maybe I find one I like better. But I mean, Terry McLaurin's getting up there, but players that stay with a team their entire career kind of go up on your list. But it's the same franchise, so I don't understand. It's like if you're not willing to continue to support the team despite the name change, it's like, well, then find a new team, I guess. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're gonna have to figure something out soon, whether they're going to Virginia, staying in Maryland, or returning.
Yeah, the current contract
DC.
they have expires in 2026. So
exactly. Yeah,
they
so
have
they
to figure out something for sure.
Soon.
Yeah, in some other news, there were some bullshit rumors that Ron Payne walked out of practice, but he actually did not. This is just, I mean, it's the off season, so I think these are kind of things that we can come to expect. There's just some stupid headlines and dumb shit that comes out. Oh, this happened. Oh my God, what do you think? Yeah. That didn't even happen. And he posted on Twitter or whatever platform it was sometime shortly after that, saying, if you guys thought I walked out of practice, what did he say? Y'all goofy or some shit like that.
Yeah, I've got the tweet
we always working
and then he also posted pictures because he worked out. He just didn't participate in some of the drills, and that's
so he was still there.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, there was the initial rumor was obviously that he walked out because he wasn't happy with his current contract situation, which obviously that happens from time to time with these players. But yeah, I mean, he was there. He was working out, so that was just a rumor, and everything seems fine on that front, at least currently. Yeah. Now Terry wasn't there, but
that's because of his contract issues, which as far as I've seen, and they're in the works. I think
Right.
after June 1st, we're going to see something probably, happen, and we'll.
Yeah, I mean,
some
once
kind
they
of
get that
contract.
Landon Collins money off the books, they might be able to do a little bit more with that.
Yeah.
And obviously, maybe at some point, they've even discussed bringing back Landon Collins. But yeah, I mean, obviously,
Yep.
if they
I
do
remember
bring him
seeing
back,
that
they're
as
going to
well.
get him at, I would guess, a much cheaper figure, and probably, work that money. A lot of these NFL GMs are NFL cap wizards. As we've mentioned before, they finagle the cap. At least for a couple seasons, you can manipulate the cap until it bites you, like it has the Saints and so many other teams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so obviously we can squash that rumor. Another big thing that's happening through Washington's OTAs is we've got a position change. Antonio Gandy Golden is officially moving to tight end.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That is
He's put on some weight and added a little bit of lbs in the practice. He's put on some muscle, and the team's excited to see what he can do at tight end. I mean, of course, this is a guy that in 2 seasons he's appeared in 10 games. He has 1 career catch for 3 yards. His best contribution to the NFL was a 22-yard run that he had on a run play that they had. So he's got 2 career NFL touches. So, it'd be good to see. I mean, obviously with Jahan Dotson now and Curtis Samuel coming back from injury, the chances of him making it as a receiver were, increasingly unlikely, because last year, as you know, he was cut and then brought back on the practice squad. So, I mean, he wasn't even like a lock on the team last year. He appeared in 4 games. He wasn't even targeted. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see if he can make a difference. Obviously, he's playing a position where they have John Bates, Logan Thomas, Sammy's Reyes, and Cole Turner. So they've got some tight ends too, but I mean, I think he's got a better chance making the roster as maybe a tight end than he would, at a more crowded position like receiver. So, it remains to be seen how that transition goes.
Yep. All right, and then some other news. Washington coach Ron Rivera, who unfortunately had cancer but made a full recovery, has been selected as the 2022 George Halas Award recipient by the Professional Football Writers of America. The Halas Award is given to an NFL player, coach, or staff member who overcomes adversity to succeed. The award is named for Halas, a charter member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who is associated with the Chicago Bears and NFL from their inception in 1920 until his death in 1983 as an owner, manager, player, and promoter. Rivera, who has battled squamous cell carcinoma, is the 4th member of the Washington franchise to receive the honor from the PFWA and the 2nd in as many years, joining Billy Kilmer in 1976, Pat Fisher in 1978, and Alex Smith in 2021. Alex.
Hell yeah. That's pretty cool that Alex won in 2021 and then Ron won it the next year. That's pretty dope.
That is cool. Washington 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Other nominees in 2022 were Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Max Crosby, Philadelphia Eagles tackle Lane Johnson, and Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Rivera, a finalist for the Halas Award for the 2nd time in as many years, was diagnosed with cancer in his neck in August of 2020.
Jesus.
Over 7 weeks during the 2020 season, he received 35 proton therapy treatments and 3 chemotherapy cycles. Rivera lost more than 30 pounds and had to receive IV treatments at halftime of games. But he never missed a game while leading his team to the playoffs in his first year as head coach in Washington. And fortunately, since then, he's made a full recovery, which he announced in January of 2021 that he's cancer-free. The award dates back to 1969 when Joe Namath won the very first one.
Hell yeah. That's badass. I mean, Ron obviously a fucking warrior. So happy for him to get that award.
Yeah, man. I mean, going through that treatment and still being out there on the field and
just getting a little bit of help from Coach Del Rio here and there, but outside of that,
and well-deserved help at that point. I mean, he was there, man. He had the golf cart, so he didn't have to walk. I remember I watched something back then. And
good. If I was Coach Rivera, I'd have kept the golf cart afterwards. I'd have been like, you know what, guys, some things are not going back to how they were. Some things are.
Nah, you don't want to. He doesn't want to start looking like Bruce Arians, man. Come on.
No, oh God, yeah. Or Andy, Cheeseburger Andy down there in Kansas City.
Yeah, Andy Reid. That's who I was actually thinking of. Actually, I think that's who I had in my head.
And then we'll just go into some quick roster moves here. Nothing super notable as far as big name players, but free agent collegiate players: Nigel Hill, cornerback, and linebacker Bryce Notary. So another linebacker was brought in. Couple players that are going to fill that off-season roster depth. As a corresponding move, they released guard Zach Bailey and Jordan Kanazik.
Kanazik how you say it?
Was I
was curious on that.
So Kanazik last season was primarily a special teams player. He appeared in 11 games for Washington, recording 4 tackles. And then the Commanders also claimed tackle Drew Himmelman off the Broncos roster. So, and then they made one more offensive line move. They signed offensive tackle Aaron Monteiro, who is previously from the Panthers practice squad.
What a surprise there.
Yeah. I mean, he's got great size at 6'6", 315. But this guy's been around for a couple seasons on the Panthers practice squad, and he hasn't ever appeared in an actual game. So
I would say he's probably a camp body, man. I mean, it's it's off season. They're signing camp bodies for the next
more than likely. Yeah, I mean, you got that 90-man off season roster. You got to make sure that you bring guys in. You're going to encounter training camp next month. In the hot summer months. Obviously, you got to have guys in there. Guys are going to cramp up. Guys are going to get dehydrated. You got to make sure you have enough guys out there. And more than likely, none of these guys are going to make a considerable difference, but we just wanted to briefly report. I guess the most notable one is Bryce Notary, the linebacker, because obviously linebacker's been a position that's been, discussed greatly.
I'm sure they'll be looking at him a little more closely to see if maybe he could provide something a little more for the team. But I like you said, I don't think any of these players are really going to amount to
2022. Jamin Davis is breaking out. I'm calling it now. I think he's going to have a great second year.
I hope so, man. Shit, I hope so.
Hell yeah.
But that's all we got for you this week in terms of Commanders news. As things develop, we will definitely let you guys know. And if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
You guys enjoyed the show. If you're not already, make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us on all of the social media platforms. And check out our other video clips, like the Niners News Update.
And the Commanders Countdown.
That's right. See you next week, everybody.